So he mentions, Abdullah bin Salaam, he mentions that the Prophet ﷺ, we knew he's going to come to Medina, we knew he's going to be a prophet, and we were all waiting. So along with the Ansar, he said, I used to go outside, I used to leave Medina, and I used to wait with all the people. And then when the Ansar saw the Prophet ﷺ coming from the distance, they all became very excited, and they said, look, the Prophet's here. And Abdullah bin Salaam, he also says that at that very same time, I chanted Allahu Akbar, because I was so happy that the Prophet ﷺ was arrived. And then another Jew saw him, and he said that if Musa alayhi salam come, you probably wouldn't have even got that happy. So how come you get so happy about this random person? And then he explained that this is the brother of Musa alayhi salam. This is who Musa alayhi salam told us about, that he's definitely going to come. So this is how the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he was understood even before he was coming into Medina by the Jews, that this is the person who's going to come. So Abdullah bin Salaam was very, very happy, and he saw him coming to Medina. And then obviously when the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam is entering into Medina, he carries on describing. That's the bit that we've kind of got on the hadith, where he describes how the Prophet ﷺ came into Medina, what was kind of going on, and what the Prophet ﷺ most importantly said. So shall we go through the Arabic? I forgot pens, but you should all bring your own pens by now. So the Arabic's there. If anyone wants to make any annotations, you can. Otherwise, we'll just read through it. So again, who's the narrator of this hadith? Abdullah bin Salaam, the chief rabbi of Medina. So now he's narrating. He said, "Lama قدم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم المدينة." When the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم came to Medina, انجفل الناس قبله. The people, I don't know how to translate that. They rushed towards him. They went so fast towards him. Rushed is an understatement. It isn't really translated properly. They overwhelmed him. They were so keen to go towards him. And again, remember the amount of love that Ansar were, and the anticipation which the Ansar had for the Prophet ﷺ to come. So just this word, it encapsulates how much love they had. They were all obsessed with the Prophet ﷺ. He was the focus of their lives for that moment. And Waqil, everyone was saying, قَدْ قَدِمَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ قَدْ قَدِمَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ قَدْ قَدِمَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ. They were all saying that the Prophet ﷺ is come, he's come, he's come. فَجِئْتُ فِي النَّاسِ لِأَنْظُرْ. And then the person who's narrating, what's his name? Abdullah bin Salaam. It's a bit better. He says, فَجِئْتُ فِي النَّاسِ. I came into the people. لِأَنْظُرْ. So that I can see what's going on. This is very, very exciting. So, فَلَمَّا تَبَيَّنْتُ وَجْهَهُ. When his face became clear to me, and I could see him properly, عَرَفْتُ أَنَّهُ لَيْسَ بِوَجْهٍ بِكَاذِبٍ. I could recognize just from his face that this person is not a liar. It wasn't the face of a liar. And just by looking at the Prophet ﷺ, he recognized that this is the Prophet of Allah, and this person has been sent by Allah. And then he goes on to narrate the stuff which we take away even for today, because we know that the Prophet ﷺ, he's leaving Makkah, he's coming with the people of Makkah, a whole chunk of them, and he's coming into another fractured community which they're always having fights. And then that's a group of Muslims who are living alongside the Jews and other people. So the Prophet ﷺ already has it in his mind how he's going to try and unite this community, how he's going to try and get these people together. So just while he's entering into Medina and the people are all around him, فَكَانَ أَوَّلُ شَيْءٍ سَمِعْتُهُ تَكَلَّمَ بِهِ. This is where he says, أَوَّلُ شَيْءٍ, the first thing I heard him say, Ya ayyuhan nas. He addressed everyone. He says ayyuhan nas. So again, realize he's not addressing just the Muslims. He doesn't say Ya ayyuhal ansar wal muhajirin if you wanted to address them. He didn't say Ya ayyuhal muslimin or the people of Iman. He addresses everyone there. So obviously everyone's excited. It's the big city. Everyone's there. So he addresses everyone, and that means that the advice is quite generic. It applies to everyone. If those rules are applied in a community, the community is enhanced because of following this advice of the Prophet ﷺ. So what is the first advice the Prophet ﷺ? Again, it's some very simple advices from the Prophet ﷺ, but we can learn so much from him. The first thing the Prophet ﷺ says, Afshu salam, that spread salam. That within yourselves, wherever you are, say salam, have a practice of it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And actually mean it, that I want peace on you and the mercy of Allah on you. And actually say it with as if you mean it. Salam means peace. So if you say it like Assalamu alaikum, you're really scared of it. It doesn't really work. So the point of salam is that we speak to people and they feel salam from us. That barriers break down. We actually connect with the people around us. Afshu salam. Again, generically this applies in a community, but even in our households. Before I came here, I had to do a talk at a wedding, and obviously I had to prepare for the Wednesday class. So I didn't really know what to do, but obviously I decided to prepare for that wedding instead. But what I did is I realized how well we can apply every teaching of the Prophet ﷺ in different parts. So I decided to use this hadith in the speech which I did. And this hadith, again, if you're talking to a new couple, the Prophet ﷺ is coming to unite a whole community. These are two people that you need to stay united. And then the first thing the Prophet ﷺ says is Afshu salam, which again there it becomes very relevant. That when a husband comes and meets his wife at home and he says Assalamu alaikum, then it helps that relationship. Again, that's an advice from the Prophet ﷺ. So anyway, I incorporated this into that talk. And very often we find that everything on a daily basis which we take from the seerah, we may just see a story of the Prophet ﷺ, but so many things which he does all the time, even in the smallest way, it has so much benefit on our life, on the way that we are as individuals as well. So this is the first thing, Afshu salam. Again, in our families, if we're not married yet, we walk onto our parents and we make sure we say Assalamu alaikum. And if you have kids, we say Assalamu alaikum to them so they know that that's what they're meant to say. And we expect them to say that to us when they walk into the house. And it should be something clear and said with love. And that's when these things are effective. Then the Prophet ﷺ says, أطعموا الطعام. Again, this means literally feed food. So feed the homeless, feed the hungry, set up a soup kitchen, set up a homeless food for the homeless. Or as well as that, you can just be hospitable to the people who are around you. So again, when you're at a wedding, you're at a table. So somebody's going to have to start first, and somebody's going to be left having to be a bit patient. But again, even in our everyday life, even when the Prophet ﷺ says feed food, it doesn't mean that one person in the house has to make all the food. Just like when we've eaten and we feel like going upstairs and not doing any more work because we need to finish life now. There's also other people in the house who feel the same way. That just because the plates are left there, they also want to go upstairs and relax. So sometimes أطعموا الطعام, that you take care of others. You're hospitable to other people as well. Whether that's in the family or whether that's generally within a community, that we try and look after the people around us. We try and give them, we try and actually sometimes maybe take out some time from our lives, and just have a coffee with somebody else and, find out something about their life. So many things that might be going on. And try and, help other people, keep in touch with people. Hospitality, that's what it leads to, a community development. Then the third thing the Prophet ﷺ advises, again the first thing, this is again his trying to build that community level. وَصِلُوا الْأَرْحَامِ. Silul arham relates to blood relations, your family, your close family. He says, silu, keep very, very close ties with them. Make sure your family is intact. You should be speaking to all your brothers and all your sisters. You should be in touch with your parents, very deeply, obviously. You should always make sure that your kids are able to talk to you, those of us that have kids. And as well as that, when we have a relationship with husband and wife, we're meant to be able to talk to each other, we're meant to be able to make sure that we have strong relationships. There shouldn't be anybody who we cut off from. This is what within the immediate family, again, it's arham. It's only the immediate family. Prophet ﷺ doesn't say that everybody you meet in the mosque you have to have a close connection with. No. Just your close family. These are people who you have to be able to keep in touch with. If you can't keep in touch with them, then how are you going to be able to? And very often we find people who may come to the masjid smiling and bubbly. When they go home, they're all very scary and ferocious. So that's not the way we're meant to be. The people that know us the best are our families, our wives, our husbands, our wives, and as well as that, our parents and our kids and our brothers and sisters. The people that we live with, there's people watching online, man. There's people watching online. Anyway, immature audience, man. So, where were we, man? Together. Keep this connection that we have to have with the people, family especially, and we try and develop that. And the point 2 is أطعموا الطعام, to develop the community. Also important to realize, even we find in the Quran sometimes, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is revealing verses about the Meccan life where there's not that many Muslims actually even there. Like your main mu'ashara, your social life is with pagans. So where أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُ الْيَتِيمِ وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ. In Meccan life, Allah is telling the Muslims that that is a bad quality to not help the orphans. Whereas there in Mecca, how many Muslim orphans are there? Most of the orphans would have been pagans, and the Muslims were encouraged to help with this. So again, even in Colchester, we're allowed to help the homeless. We're allowed to help the community around us or people who don't have things going quite as well. Silul Arham, to keep those close connections very, very tight. And make sure, if we have those in our lives that, we have people in our close family we don't talk to, we try and do our best to sort it out. And it's obviously very, very hard. I'm not telling everybody here that it's really easy, that tomorrow all the problems are going to be solved. But we could use our intellect and develop a strategy which could possibly make our connection with that person a little bit better. And the last thing the Prophet ﷺ mentions, and if we were to understand this, is actually, these are the 4 ingredients which the Prophet ﷺ is trying to embed into the mind of the people of Medina. And this is the 4 things he wants them to keep hold of. There's one thing which he hasn't touched upon yet, and the last thing the Prophet ﷺ says, Sallu bil-layl wan-nasu niyam. Other narrations have Sallu wan-nasu niyam, which means it doesn't have to be at night time. Sallu bil-layl, sorry, I haven't translated it. Pray at night time. وَالنَّاسُ نِيَامٌ. And while you're praying, other people should be sleeping. Nobody should know that you have prayed. And in the other hadith, if it just says pray, it doesn't have to be at night time, but pray. Have a connection to Allah. When we're in solitude and nobody's around, if we're doing the first thing and we're spreading salam among the community, and we're doing the second thing of being hospitable and being nice to everyone and developing the community, and we've got our family intact, so we're fine with the people around us, we're fine with the people at work. But if we're not fine with Allah, if we have no connection to Allah, if we don't know what it feels like to be able to have some solitude, some alone time, some one-to-one time where you're talking to Allah, if we don't know what that feels like, then the other 3 things, they're not really going to come together, because we're not going to be able to have that sincerity. We're not going to be able to do it for Allah. We have to be able to feel Allah in our lives. And the Prophet ﷺ brings this to complete this recipe which is given. That finally, the most important thing is that you yourself are connected to Allah as well. When nobody's watching, you should be somebody who's able to speak to Allah, who's able to connect to Allah. وَالنَّاسُ نِيَامٌ. Nobody should be able to see you do that. And that action should be in our daily routine. If our wife's going to check whether we pray, then obviously we're going to make sure we pray. If our dad's going to check, or somebody in the house might check, or we come to the mosque and show everyone. That's all very good. But as well as that, we should have something in our daily routine, which is just to connect me to Allah. And in that 2 minutes, I actually have a one-to-one with Allah. I actually have a communion with Allah. And we start off with 2 minutes, and very, very slowly we establish that. And this is the last thing the Prophet ﷺ says, that make sure you've got that action, that you're doing that prayer, which nobody knows about. It's just you and Allah. And you need to be able to have that connection with Allah. Because we've sorted out the connection with the community and the people and our family. But finally he says, make sure your connection with Allah is also in check. And then as a result of this, the Prophet ﷺ says, تَدْخُلُ الْجَنَّةَ بِسَلَامٍ. I'm going to read it all in Arabic because it didn't sound very good. يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ أَفْشُوا السَّلَامِ وَأَطْعِمُوا الطَّعَامِ وَصِلُوا الْأَرْحَامِ وَصَلُّوا بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّاسُ نِيَامٌ تَدْخُلُ الْجَنَّةَ بِسَلَامٍ. So this is the first advice the Prophet ﷺ said. تَدْخُلُ الْجَنَّةَ بِسَلَامٍ. As a result of doing these 4 things, you will enter Jannah with peace. You will be guaranteed Jannah. So these are the first 4 advices which the Prophet ﷺ he gave. And this was narrated by who? Abdullah bin Salaam. That's where we were, isn't it? We were sitting in the house of Abu Ayyub Ansari, where the Prophet ﷺ was sitting. The Jews were coming to see him, and one of them was the chief rabbi. And he actually, even before the Prophet came, he had already said Allahu Akbar. He was very happy. Then he came to see and recognize the Prophet ﷺ. And after he recognized the Prophet ﷺ, he realized all of his signs just by looking at his face. So he embraced Islam just by looking at his face. And then after this he went and he heard the first words of the Prophet ﷺ, and then he went to the house of Abu Ayyub Ansari and actually embraced his Islam. So he saw the Prophet ﷺ enter. We've done the hadith. And on the back of that sheet I've printed something else. which I completely forgot that I did. But basically this was as part of the hadith. So in the hadith we find the Prophet ﷺ, he focuses on caring about basically other people. And again, just to reiterate the point about even this hadith on the back, is again it's in Bukhari, where the Prophet ﷺ, he comes back to his wife and he tells his wife that I've got revelation, and his wife then tells him why it's not possible that he will have any harm come to him. The Prophet ﷺ, remember, was terrified. He'd just been seen an angel, and he just had the first revelation, first time ever in his life he's seen an angel. So when he came back, the reason why he has no reason to worry was which are given to him by Khadija radiallahu anha, are these 5. And again, think of that time. He's only just started getting revelation. He's only just become a prophet. But even from that time, the reasons which his wife gives him are those things which he done even before he was a prophet. All of his dealings would have therefore been mainly with pagans, with people who worshipped idols. But even then, the way he dealt with them, they knew him as the trustworthy. They knew him to be the best. Again, the Arabic's there if you want to read it. I'll just go through the thing from the 3rd line of the Arabic. إِنَّكَ لَتَصِلُ الرَّحِمِ. So there's 5 qualities. Khadija radiallahu anha says that these are the 5 qualities you have, because of which that you won't be, Allah will never destroy you. Number 1, إِنَّكَ لَتَصِلُ الرَّحِمِ. You keep good ties with your family. وَتَحْمِلُ الْكَلْبِ. تَحْمِلُ الْكَلْبِ. You take the burden of other people. Other people have problems, you help them out. تَقْسِبُ الْمَعْدُومِ. You look for people who are forgotten. Nobody cares about them. People at the bottom of the heap who nobody cares about. You care about them, you give them, you look after them. تَقْرِ الضَّيْفِ. On top of that, whenever you have a guest, you are hospitable. You're hospitable to the guests. And finally, تُعِينُ عَلَى نَوَائِبِ الْحَقِّ. Very generic. You help in all good causes. So this is how, I didn't think of that translation when I was making the translation. But you help in all good causes is better for number 5. So the Prophet, she tells him that you basically care about other people. Yeah, you're a person who does things for the community, does things for the family, make sure things are intact. So that's on the back as well. Those are the 5 qualities. Again, these are the ways that the Prophet ﷺ would interact with even that community. Again, where were we? Abdullah bin Salaam radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So he becomes a Muslim. So he came to the Prophet ﷺ and he kind of said to the Prophet that, I recognize you. He asked him a few questions, and he knew that he was a Muslim. And then the Prophet ﷺ was also aware that this is the chief rabbi. So he said to him, what kind of status do you have in your people? How many followers do you have? And he said there's a lot of Medina is very respectful, to the extent that he said that basically whatever I say goes with the Jews. So he said, okay, that's good. So what we're going to do is you're going to come and be with me. You're going to be in another room at the back, and we're going to call all the Jews and we're going to have a little chat. So the Prophet ﷺ, he called all of the main Jewish leaders. And he gave them da'wah, he embraced them to it, he called them towards Islam. And then he said that they didn't really want to believe it. Then he said that, what's your opinion of Abdullah bin Salaam? Do you think he's capable of recognizing a prophet when he sees one? Or do you think that perhaps there's someone else who'd be better at recognizing the prophet who your books describe? And they said, nah, he'd probably be the best guy. So he said, so if Abdullah bin Salaam was to say that I'm a prophet, you would become Muslim. And they said, he would never say that. He's too clever for it. They said, he asked him again, but what if he did, let's say hypothetically, he said that I am the prophet, would you embrace Islam? He said, he won't say that. And then Abdullah bin Salaam, remember, was at the back, so he was concealed in another room. So then he came out and he said that I bear witness that he is the messenger of Allah. And when he said this, they were all like, okay. And obviously they left. They all just ran away. So this is kind of what happened a lot. Big groups would come, some would accept, some would not accept. The Prophet would give general da'wah. Some of the Jews would become Muslims, some of them would not be Muslims. But that would be the main thing that we learned. There was also another story I wanted to do, but I don't think we've got that much time now. Obviously because I focused on this in the other talk, I kind of spoke a bit more about this hadith. Again, it is a beautiful hadith. Like last week, we had the first khutbah which he gave in the masjid. Again, this is another hadith which the Prophet ﷺ lays some foundations again. Things to apply in everyday life. Spreading simple tips, spreading salam, number 1. We should all know the 4 tips, by the way. Everyone got them? The 4, number 1? It's written on the sheet, man. Number one, we can do the Arabic as well for those of us in the Arabic. Afshu salam. Number one, the English. Number one, spreading salam. Number two, at'imu ta'am, to be hospitable to the people around you. Get involved in the community. Number two. So be hospitable. Number two, yeah. Number three, salil arham. Join your family tie, yeah. Make sure your family's got a good relation with your family. And then the last one, your connection with Allah. Sallu bil layl. Make sure you pray at a time when no one sees you. Those are the four things. Everyone should keep those in mind. So this is what the Prophet ﷺ said when he came into Medina, and we find it from the hadith obviously of who? Abdullah bin Salaam. The hadith of Abdullah bin Salaam, the scholar of the Jews. So he narrates this specific hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. We've got some brothers going for Hajj. I think one of the brothers was going to say bye to everyone. So inshallah, I think Brother Saleh, alhamdulillah, he's brought food for everyone. So he's amazing brother.
You finished?
Don't worry, man.
I'm going to put me on film, are you?